Is there a way to measure how big this was yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, it basically can kind of redefine a good portion of President Barack Obama's presidency. It really affects him more than anyone else, because now he has to take the considerations of, will John McCain and Lindsey Graham approve of my nominee? Any of these centrist-minded deal-making Republicans, their influence is lowered from now on. Now Obama only needs 51 Democrats. He doesn't even need the whole caucus to approve of his nominees. So his regulatory agenda, the courts, all of these things he can make large changes to just by installing people that he wants to put in there.
So in other words, what you're saying is he could actually nominate liberal judges to the bench, confident they would pass, rather than just have a bunch of moderates that would appeal to John McCain.
Right. So that's exactly what brought this fight to a head. Is he nominated 3 liberal-leaning judicial nominees earlier this year, and Republicans kept blocking them. And Harry Reid said enough is enough. The filibuster is being abused, and now we need to get Obama's team in there while he still has some time to do something.
And that's where this move yesterday has generational significance. We talk a lot about the impact of appointing judges to a Supreme Court for decades and decades and what that means for our kids and their kids. But, we don't really talk about other presidential judicial appointments. And what he's essentially done is allowed the court system to be a bit balanced from the 8 years of extremely, strongly conservative Bush appointees.
Right. And this D.C. circuit, which is viewed by pretty much everyone in the city as the second most powerful court in the country, people will tell you that it's evenly ideologically balanced, as 4 Republican nominees and 4 Democrats. But there's 5 of the 6 senior judges who sometimes take cases are all conservative. So really, it's a conservative court right now. He's going to put 3 more permanent justices that are liberal-leaning on there, and it'll become a left-leaning court.
And that's going to have huge national significance, won't it?
Right, because this court arbitrates any disputes between the Obama administration, say the EPA, and the private sector. So they will be gentler probably on his agenda.
And this court will, of course, arbitrate any future disputes between a potential GOP administration.
Right, exactly. And maybe there are fewer vacancies for the next president to fill in 2016. Should that be a Republican president, they won't have as much influence over the court.
And, of course, it very well could be a Republican president, despite what the Hillary Clinton fan club thinks. I mean, we have no idea yet who that president will be.
And that's where Mitch McConnell will tell you that Harry Reid screwed up yesterday, because he says if the Senate flips control and you have a Republican president in there, look out. They're going to change the rules, not only for nominees, but for legislation too. So you can kiss Obamacare goodbye, you can kiss Dodd-Frank goodbye.
Now, that's
all
nonsense.
Of these things.
That's nonsense, isn't it? I mean, we're not talking about judicial nominees. We're talking about laws that have been passed.
Right.
And this maneuver yesterday in no way can affect laws that have been passed.
For now. Most people, including Democrats, will tell you that the eventual path for this is that the filibuster and the 60-vote threshold will be no more in the Senate, because this precedent has been set that you can lower the rules just to get a president's nominees through, so why can't you lower it for something else?
We're talking to Burgess Everett, a congressional reporter for Politico, and taking your calls at 866-55-PRESS. Burgess, let me run this by you, because the biggest thing I heard all day yesterday from our GOP friends was wait till the shoe's on the other foot, like you just said. Like Senator McConnell said, wait until we are calling the shots, and then you'll see. How relevant an argument is that when it hasn't been the Democrats abusing the filibuster?
Well, most people would tell you, if you go back to the George W. Bush presidency, that's when Democrats used the filibuster a bunch in 2005.
But nowhere near the
it's
Clinton
pretty close. It's pretty close.
The Clinton and Obama terms?
In 2005,
86 times from Washington to Bush, and 82 times since Bush.
Right. So, but most of those were on Bush. So it really cropped up.
Well, no, actually, no. There was more used more against Clinton than against Bush.
I think on nominees it was Bush.
Really?
Yeah.
Peter Ogburn, check that out.
I'm on it.
Please.
I'm on it.
Okay. So I don't know.
I hope you're right, because now that would make it much more interesting. I mean,
well, so this almost happened in 2005 because Democrats were doing this to Bush's nominees, his judicial nominees, including circuit court nominees. So they got to this point. There was a gang of 14 that said, no, we can't change the Senate rules. That did not happen this time, because this fight has happened 3 times in the past year. Everyone was exhausted with it, and there just was no energy for these old-timer institutionalist senators to preserve this filibuster.
Well, and Merkley and Udall have really been leading the charge on this for over a year now, and they were promised many times by Harry Reid that he was going to do it. Harry Reid was getting so angry when they filibustered Chuck Hagel. Harry Reid was so mad he almost tore the tassels off his loafers. And I guess it's been a case of Chicken Little, and I think a lot of people have been used to Harry Reid saying he was going to do this and then capitulating. Are you surprised this happened?
Yes, I was surprised. It had been building, but I have not been covering the Senate super long, but I have heard the words nuclear option more than I would like to say. So it always seemed like Harry Reid was searching for a deal. He has to work with McConnell every day on everything in the Senate is intricately negotiated between the leaders, Harry Reid and Mitch McConnell. And I think he always felt driven to pick a deal over this confrontation. But I think he really just thought at this point, and his entire caucus thought at this point, and then you got Vice President Biden endorsing it too, even before he made the change. They were just fed up. They thought, the House is controlled by Republicans. We can't get immigration passed, as we were talking about before. Whatever we send over there, they're not picking it up, even if it is a bipartisan bill. So now they were saying, well, what can we do unilaterally to get the Democratic agenda in place? And that would be changing the rules so that you can get President Barack Obama's nominees through.
Which normally wouldn't have been an issue were it not for this obstruction.
Right. It wouldn't have been an issue if there hadn't been these filibusters on the circuit court nominees is what gave them the motivation and the rationale for changing the rules.